All right, the next comic we got coming to the stage. She was a Navy officer, active for, she says, 7.5 years. Give it up for Maria Batdorff.
Hello. I was homeschooled from kindergarten to 12th grade. Sometimes people ask me, well, how were you socialized? I tell them, I wasn't. Now, back then in the state of Michigan, homeschooling was illegal. And before TLC made it a trend, it was a covert operation. I have 10 brothers and sisters, and we lived like Anne Frank. Except we were allowed to go outside, as long as we stayed in the backyard. My siblings and I thought it was important to blend in with our community, but the only other kids we saw were on TV. So we dressed like Little House on the Prairie. I was really into those little bonnets. Now, when I was 6 years old, my parents strategically relocated us to a small farm 2 miles from the nearest town. Population, 700 senior citizens. My mom would have to go to the grocery store during the day, and she would have to take us with her. So, like any good Christian, she taught us how to lie. And it's a good thing that there was a high turnover rate among the cashiers at the grocery store, because my grandfather died 20 times in 1 year. So when my siblings and I weren't busy lying to the grocery store cashiers, we were out on our two-way radios keeping a watch for those gray vans with men that might try to kidnap us. You know, the ones from Child Protective Services? Another question I get asked is, well, do you feel like you were put at a disadvantage? But I know history. Many people were homeschooled. George Washington, Albert Einstein, Charles Manson. Now, there are some things you don't learn from being homeschooled, like how to make friends. I still remember the first time I tried to make a friend when I was 15 years old. What a 2 weeks that was. Another thing that you don't learn from being homeschooled is sex education. So a few years ago, I decided it was time for me to remediate this deficiency. I started watching some of those online tutorials. But as it turns out, they're not geared towards beginners. And I was told this was not an appropriate use of the library's internet. Even when I put the sound on mute. So my friends all told me, you gotta go on Tinder, it's the easiest way. So I set up my Tinder profile and I started swiping. The first thing I noticed about Tinder is you can be very specific about what you're looking for. So the first guy I looked at, he had blue eyes, blonde hair, and a nice smile, and he had written on his profile, I'm looking for women not taller than 4'9" to hook up with because I'm a 5'3" male and I have a micro penis. I said, well, this is not going to work. I'm not into blondes. Another thing I noticed about Tinder is you can also be vague. So the next guy I looked at, he had dark hair, and all he had written on his profile was 6'2". I said, well, 6'2" looks nice, so I swiped right, and we matched. We started chatting, set up a date. So we met for drinks. And right away, it didn't start out well when I had to remind him to compliment my new bonnet. And he got a little edgy when I told him that I plan to homeschool our children. But in fact, things are going well. We're still on the date. I'm just waiting for him to come back from the bathroom.